So we'll go ahead and start. This is, I'm Jeff.
And I'm John.
And we are the
J&J Show.
And we're doing this, continuing our monthly networking opportunity as tools, technology, and training. And number one is we appreciate Milton and Milton Industries and Z-Line so much for helping sponsor that we can break off and do this. We're also going to be doing some podcasts and some webinars. We invited some from all in the industry to help cover the tools, to help cover the technology and the training on this first one, because there is so much of that out in our industry that number one, folks are asking about, and number two, so many don't know. And, we're going to introduce a couple of them here tonight. Philip Austin is with NGK, and they have a new program out, Shop Squad. And over on the other side, we have Oscar Gomez, and he's out in California, and he does Master Automotive Training, which does training in California certified training and ASE training. And then, of course, we've got two from our sponsors here. Jonathon Cole is with Z-Line. Curt Evey is his boss, and he's with Milton. And we've been connecting with Curt for quite a while on different deals. And we're excited that they're sponsoring a program that we do called Tools for Schools. And we're going to let them talk a little bit about that. And I'm trying to watch this. So much appreciate everybody taking a few minutes and joining. And if y'all aren't familiar with the platform, down on the bottom of your screen, you can unmute yourself over on the left side. And then kind of in the middle, it says chat. So if you have a question, or if you want to put a link, like we're going to ask.
I'm going to say real quick, keep an eye on the chat box. Brian Jackson just put a post in there about NGK plugs. So
the Shop Squad,
the people are going to be putting stuff in that chat box. You want to keep an eye on that and grab that information, because it's going to be some really top information, because the class of people that we have on this Zoom tonight is astronomically awesome. That's a new word.
Let's start off with after hours. If you got your adult beverage there, enjoy yourself. We're here to listen, to share, and to a little bit of laugh. Because it is hump day, Wednesday, the middle of the week, and sometimes you need a laugh just to make it through the rest of the week. And we want to share, and like I said, we're on a lot of forums, and we see a lot of questions out there, like in the ASOG group or the technicians group or the trainers group, about different questions. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of new tools coming out to deal with the new technology. And there's a lot of new technology that we're having to deal with that the body shops have been dealing with for a couple of years before it starts getting into the mechanical service shops. And there's a lot of training out there, and we're going to talk about a little bit of that. And the first guest we invite to share is Philip Austin. He's with NGK, and they have a new program. When I went out to Apex, and Apex TV had me going around filming on Thursday, and John had already left, so he wasn't there with me. And we walked up to NGK, and lo and behold, they had this great big sign up that said Shop Squad. And, I pretty much know a lot of the stuff that's going on in the industry, a lot of the training that you can do online. And I had no idea what Shop Squad was. And I was like, Shop Squad? So Philip, tell us your title, and then talk a little bit about Shop Squad and how y'all are going back to the way it used to be on trying to reach out and do some training.
All right, so here we go. Yes, I'm Philip Austin of NGK Spark Plugs. I manage the technical training and development program for North America and Canada. So we have a dedicated trainer that's in Canada, and we're growing our team, because this whole Shop Squad concept is basically, we understand that you use our sensors and our ignition coils and our spark plugs. We feel that we're responsible for following up on training in those categories. So we wanted to not just go out and conduct training, but create a community. Whoever we train or connected with, we want them to be part of this community, because we kind of see ourselves in this shop squad environment to come out and support where the needs are. Those that are still in the field are well supported. Now, our strategy is pretty interesting. We're not reaching out to the A and A plus guys. We done our research and we realized that the B and the B plus are the ones that are, or even the C plus, that everyone within that category is trying to reach that A level when it comes to drivability and diagnostics, is suddenly, from our research, is being lost in the mix here, right? So we want to dedicate most of our training and focus on those individuals where we're giving 2.5 hours of training in the evening, because we don't believe anything going over 3 hours, we don't have your attention anyway. So we want to be able to give information that's going to help you go back and look at things differently from a troubleshooting perspective, and being able to make use of the scan tools, the scopes that you are currently using, and really create a network where we communicate, follow up, share waveforms, data PIDs together, all within this community. So that's what the Shop Squad concept and community is all about. It's brand new, and through our training program, we understand that there's 3 different ways of learning, whether you guys want to come to an in-person class or go online or even attend a webinar. We want to just be able to conduct training in either one of those methods, and then follow up through the community and the Shop Squad interaction, whether it's on Facebook, where I'm on Facebook with some of you guys, and we're able to share information and give ideas of future classes, and share if you have a data PID screen from a particular scan tool that you like to share, known goods, waveforms, things of that nature. We just want to stay all connected and support the technicians. Now, one of the things that we've just added, and I'm not sure if can I share my screen for a moment?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I just want to show you all the classes that we have designed. All right, cool.
And
Nice.
let me break in there just a little there. If you go to the shopsquadonline.com, you register into their system, and then you have the option at that point to take 4 different mini classes where you can get certification. And it kind of teaches you, like, okay, this is stuff that your basic tech, where he's talking to C tech. A lot of the questions I see out there is, how do I bring in a new guy, a young guy, one that doesn't know that much? And then they take these basic ones and they get a certificate, and all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh. Well, then if you go into their training that's available, it's like amazing. Like he says, you get into, because it's just NGK is also in TK, and it's not just the spark plug, it's the oxygen sensors, it's all of the sensors that they supply. And so all of a sudden that training is now available online for your basic guys to take. And it's not like they're going into a 2.5-hour class and going, oh my gosh, they're overwhelmed. So it's a great deal to start someone.
Yeah, great. Yeah, you guys can still see my screen. This is an example of what Jeff was referring to, and you can enroll in any of the courses. So, this is separate from obviously the in-person training that we do, and it's complimentary of it, where you can go and follow up on similar service manager, similar subject matter. Now, keep in mind, there's 2 learning paths. There's a learning path for parts pros. We want to keep them educated as well, but the other learning path is strictly for service pros. So when you come onto our dashboard, you could separate yourself from whether you want to learn about both or just stay on the the Service Pro side where there's technical classes that are delivered there. So it's all through the whole Shop Squad
He
network.
already did. Brian put it in. Hey, Gary from Florida is asking, is this training free?
We don't like that word because somebody's paying for it somewhere, some way. So
and that would be NGK.
We're paying for it because we have a philosophy that we're assuming that you're buying up whenever you fix a car that you're choosing NGK. So we're sold on that understanding that this comes from a supportive angle of you supporting us. So whoever the part suppliers that you're buying NGK product from, we're partnering with them to make it cost effective for you.
Love the way you ran with that ball. That's good. Good statement. I like it, Philip.
Well, and the other story that I picked up at Apex was actually you've shifted some of your sponsorships into this program because this is actually more valuable to the shop owners and to the techs, because if you can get the proper training, then we're talking about less comebacks. We're talking about less warranty work. And
Exactly.
so it's a dual purpose. And like I said, they've actually shifted some of their sponsorships that they were doing into your budget, correct?
Yeah, so we have two parts of the program in which, yes, through various parts, suppliers and organizations, if they want to be able to have sponsor NGK training and then their network out whatever the cost is for their people to come and have dinner. But there's also a non-sponsored road through where we will start conducting standalone Shop Squad events where if you're registered with us with Shop Squad and we find your name and your information when you come in as an attendee and sign in, then there's no cost for that because you're part of our community. So, and that gives you benefits of attending any one of these classes that I have laid out here. So like Mastering the Difference is a shop management class that we would offer through either channel, whether it's sponsored by a parts supplier or association or just a standalone Shop Squad community event or technical training topics here. Now, one thing I just want to explain about technical training topics, whenever we can't get out and do the research on our own and beta tests, we rely on drivability diagnostic mobile techs. We partner with some of the industry leading educators that are a hybrid of both, because we believe those that are closest to looking in certain areas where we could go out and teach how to be more effective through the eyes or the lenses of a mobile tech that is really strict on their time and very precise on their diagnostic approach. So sharing those type of walkthrough case studies is what's the core of our program. And we try to keep it to 2.5 hours. So that's
cool. So you're giving a whole lot of meat to that subject. I had a good friend of mine that's on this podcast just texted me, said the last class he was in was an NGK class. This guy's a top-notch guy, okay? And he also says that's the best class he attended in a long time. Look at him wave. Hey, now, Scott Garrett's a good friend of mine. He is probably the oldest person in the auto parts selling industry that's just retired.
Yes, I did.
Out.
I retired over an hour ago. But we get the Modern Ignition 2.0 class a month and a half ago, and we had 42 people attend, and the majority of them were L1 masters. And it was such a good class because the instructor wasn't a salesman. He was like the tech line guy, and nobody could stump him. He knew everything he was talking about and all the different plugs and the different stuff. And then we'd had the coil-on plug deal before, and guys, forget the entry level guys. Your main guys got to come to these classes as far as NGK goes, because it takes it to that next level. I mean, I don't work on cars. I've been doing it forever, but at the same time, you watch those guys' faces and you're like, oh, he just stumped that guy, and that guy's 60 years old, you know. And then the younger guy the same way. So anyway, more than just GSs, you gotta get your masters in there as well.
And see, that's the great thing to hear and to know about. And it's like when they show up, you had 41 there. That's part of our responsibility, is if they show up to do a class, we need to get the folks there.
Tell everybody we love to come to this class.
And you know, if you got to pay them their wage for an hour, 2 hours, you know, that's what needs to be done, because that's part of, you know, what we need to correct in our industry.
Guys,
Philip,
the parts people have to come too.
Yeah.
It is it's so informative, as far as when a guy that either answers the phone or the sales guy can give a service writer or service advisor some quick tips on diag. It's priceless. And it is absolutely priceless.
well, and then too, that helps, you know, when the customers come in and, you know, you're not diagnosing their car, but you're able to understand what parts you're selling. And so, and Philip, you also offer some webinars there that's 1 hour. And we talked earlier, and we're going to have some more talks about getting them on to do a 1 hour webinar with us. And so we so much appreciate you sharing your screen and showing. And if the guys would go to that, this screen here, is that available on NGK training? What is that?
Yes. So this all through Shop Squad. So once they enter on shopsquadonline.com, and I'll type that in the chat as well, it opens up the door for access to everything that we have. So it will show the in-person training and webinar topics. And if you're interested on going to one of these, just send us some communication on that, and we'll also have a post board or of some future activities that we're going to be doing and training. For instance, one main collaboration that we have is with Autel. We've been part of some of the Autel chat rooms on Facebook, and we realize there's a large community of Autel users that have not completely mastered their 919 or their Maxi scan tool and the different scope capabilities and scan tool enhanced bi-directional control. So NGK teamed up with Autel, and we're going to have 6 webinars throughout the year with Autel on that. So if you're within the community, you'll get a email on that information as well.
Great, thank you so much. And again,
Post that link in the chat. Don't forget.
We have a question there. I'm looking at the wrong place. I only see 4 or 5 classes. They go to the main one, and then they go into the catalog or the resources there.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So
Okay.
yeah. So either you're going to go on the on-demand portal, but first you want to join right here,
Yeah.
and it's Shop Squad Online, and we just collect some basic information from you. You know, your name and the name of the shop, right? You know, and once you're in this, then we'll and you could just put my name in there, so they could kind of track where you were able to get this information from as far as the field rep and group code. You could just put in NGK training. But once you're in, you'll be able to get all these communications and know what's happening and when it's happening. So these 6 webinars with Autel will broadcast out to you, and if you want to attend, we'll get that set up. And any future webinars that we partner with the J&J show, we'll also post too. And if you
All right.
Okay.
Pretty soon we'll be a field rep.
So let's close that out of that screen and continue on. And Philip, I believe, is going to hang around at the end if you have some questions. You know, we try to go till 8 and then finish out with some questions. And now
Hey,
let's switch up.
guys, real quick, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
You know, the older guys like John Firm, a lot of those guys, they really resist the webinars. And so the company that I just retired from, XL Auto Parts, and then I was 21 years with O'Reilly's. We offer a lot of training classes, and there's a lot of guys that cannot do the webinar, but can do the in-class stuff better. And with that said, not to tout NGK, but I was extremely impressed with the 2 classes we did in the last 2 years with them, with the instructor, because the instructor wasn't a sales guy. He wasn't like me. He knew what he was talking about. He could tear it down. He knew. I mean, you weren't going to stump him. So anyway, not to interrupt you guys, I thought about that.
Brag a little bit more about NGK stuff. Love it.
No, and that's the whole idea on this concept that we're doing is anybody can hop in and share, good or bad, because if you have something bad, then Philip would like to hear it, you know, not ragging on him, but, you know, criticism that is, you know, responsible. And then that way they know if they need to adjust or whatever, or hey, your class is too long. Hey, it's not long enough.
There's
no,
in the Fort Worth, Texas side, there's no criticism within GK, I promise.
Yeah.
Amen.
And so let's go to Oscar. Oscar, tell a little bit about what you're doing, and besides helping us a little on some of our getting this first show going. Oscar is such a great guy. The first time we've been friends on in social media for quite a while, and I reached out to him and said, "Hey, are you going to be on that Apex in SEMA?" No, and he's been in the business a long time, and his response was, "No, I've never gone." And he's in California, literally just a drive across to Apex and SEMA, and I was like, well, dude, if you come out there, we sure would like to talk with you and visit, meet you. And because anywhere that we go, we would love to meet you, shake your hand, give you a hug, whatever.
And he's a big guy to hug, ain't you, Oscar? We could like big old hug. Yeah? Almost big as me.
Oscar came, and let me tell you, he can share, but it was well worth the little bit of effort to register, and he brought his whole family out there, and his wife was walking around with him. He met so many folks besides us.
Yeah, besides us.
I mean, we were like at the bottom of his list, I think. It was like he got starstruck, and it was like, ah! And
he got on some cool people.
Got on some podcasts, but I was so impressed with what he teaches, and it's like, Oscar, we need to get you out into industry and come along with the J&J show when we go to some of these events and get you, you know, registered as a trainer at some of these events, because he has stuff that he can share.
Oh, absolutely.
So Oscar, give us a little talk about what you do and at your facility, and you are looking at getting out, you know, to do some training.
And he does bilingual classes too. That's a good point.
Hablamos español, absolutely.
Tell where you're located there, and talk a little bit about your training, and you know, y'all have a shop too, but your school and why you did that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to kind of shed some light with some of the upcoming techs and shop owners and everybody out in this wonderful industry. So my main thing is I'm on the mission to better the automotive industry one technician at a time. And that starts with anybody who attends a class, attends or watches any of my YouTube content. Anybody that has the willpower to sit there and listen to me blab for a while. I'm going to try everything I possibly can to help them. This industry has been nothing but wonderful to me. If you guys don't know my story, you know, I started like everybody else. I started at the bottom, started doing oil changes and all that non fun stuff. And within the shop, one of the guys actually offered to help me out and kind of start showing me some of the more in detailed repair and maintenance. And then here in California, we have a smog check program. So at 18, he told me to go get your smog license. So I drove down and got my license. And I was lucky enough that my instructor at the time kind of grew fond with me and was willing to mentor me. And he offered me the opportunity to mentor me. And within about a month after my 21st birthday, I was a California licensed instructor. And with the minimum requirements, which is 3 ASCs. I don't think if it wasn't for my mentor, Mr. Don Wilson, actually pushing me, I don't think I'd be where I'm at today. And for that reason is why I worked really hard to pay it forward. If he didn't have that drive and push that he made me want more in this industry, I don't think I'd be where I'm at today. And for that reason, anybody who thinks, you know what, I don't know, should I continue with this or not? You need a mentor, because what we do as mentors is not only are we going to push you and push your buttons, but we're going to make sure that we push you in the right direction. And you also get to learn from our mistakes. So whatever we screwed up in, we're going to tell you how we did it so you don't do the same. So it's awesome that I get to call myself a mentor, and at, you know, I'm only 34 years old, being able to help some of these newer guys coming into the industry.
He's real young.
Hey, I got to do carburetors and points, so
barely.
That's only because California has a lot of those older vehicles that are
classic. They're classics. They survive here. So I'm speechless, to be honest, when you guys offered me opportunity to be on here. And like I said, I just want to make sure that I can help anybody, not even if I don't actually get to train you or any of that, as long as you kind of listen to my story and understand that it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter who you are, what your past is, what you've done. It doesn't matter. As long as you find somebody that's willing to put in the work alongside with you and you don't give up on them, they're going to push you to make sure that you guys achieve whatever you want. And that's my goal. You know, when a student takes one of my classes, such as my electrical class or anything like that, class requirement is that you need to take your ASC. And the cool thing is once they pass it, they bring me a passing email and I'll write them a check for the fee. That's how much I believe in my training and I believe in my students. So I want to take that to the next level, which I believe is going nationwide, and kind of help techs out in the field with all kinds of stuff. You know, one of my main points are electrical, drivability, and emissions. Those are my 3 strong points. I don't think I'd be your guy if you have a suspension problem. I'd be too expensive for that. But
listen to what he's saying though, is he had a mentor, and the big thing that he's telling the other shop owners now is to be a mentor.
Be a mentor.
And so many times we get these young ones in, and I can tell you, oil change place up on the corner is like a rotating door. Their sign doesn't say, hey, winterize time, hey, time to check AC. It says help wanted
all the time,
because you mess up and it's like out the door.
Right.
That's not mentoring. And that's what he's saying is his success comes from someone taking the time. And so many of us now can, if we're not working in the shop, then you can do that. And
Absolutely.
so, and if you're working in the shop, it's like, okay, well, you're the, you know, you just bring them over and all of a sudden you need to start treating them like you're the doctor and they're the intern, and then they become the nurse, the RN, because that's what they do. Is that all of these places, they prep the car for you. Hey, raise the car. Hey, pull the wheels. All of a sudden now you can do more than one brake job.
Yeah.
Because you get them pulling the deals apart. And so, you know, when he's talking, listen, and everybody can pull out that deal that, hey, I can be a mentor to someone else.
Right.
Now, in the chat, type your business deal there, Master Automotive Training, and then talk a little bit about, you have the class there. And we were bragging on him before the 7 o'clock deal started that he also,
I don't know if we're bragging or ragging, but we're doing something.
he also sells Pico
scopes. I bought one from him.
And when
you sure did.
Yeah.
And there wasn't any available. It was
nobody had
part shortage. And
Oscar
Oscar
says,
goes,
I got one of them. Give me a chance.
so when he sells it to you, he also includes training. There's
Yeah.
not another place that you can buy one of these from. You buy it from any of the parts houses or the tool trucks. The tool truck guy will get you what you want, but he won't walk in there and show you how to hook it up and tell you how to look for.
He won't spend time with you like Oscar will.
And Oscar actually will.
I appreciate that, guys. Yeah, that's one thing that we do is all the tool sales that we actually sell, the profits get rolled back into the school. Like we just bought a Prius, and that's going to be for our hybrid class that we're about to start.
I helped buy that, you're telling me?
You sure did.
Yeah.
So we just bought that, and we had to update a couple of our scan tools. So all the purchases that anybody buys from us, that gets rolled back into the school. It's not like I'm buying a mansion or a Lamborghini or anything crazy like that. It's all put back into the school because I know that if we keep doing what we're doing, we're going to keep bettering that industry one tech at a time. So everything that we do revolves around that. And we saw that a lot of people were selling tools. I mean, you could buy it from anybody. We wanted to make it different. We wanted to give people the opportunity to buy a tool and learn how to use it. I got this idea after I rolled around in the Snap-on truck for about a week, and I noticed that a bunch of guys were buying a $12,000 Zeus as a code reader. And so I would tell these guys, like, you do realize you could trade that back in, get your money back, and I'll sell you this $80 code reader that'll do the exact same thing. And you don't have a tool bill on it. So that's when I figured that these guys needed the training on this equipment because they're buying a $12,000 tool that they're using it as a $40 code reader. They didn't know how to use a scope. They didn't know how to use the guided component testing, which is amazing. If you guys have a Snap-on tool, that's probably the only good thing about it. But hey, that's why I decided that we needed to come up with training along with whatever tools people were purchasing.
I like where you went with that, Oscar. That was pretty cool.
I actually did a training for them last year, and they wanted me to compare the Snap-on versus Auto, and it didn't turn out very well. So if you guys have a Snap-on tool, no pun intended, but I would strongly advise you to find another tool.
And see, we see a lot of questions out there in the forums where these guys are asking about the diagnostic tool. Hey, which one should I use? Hey, which one do I get? And so, like you said right there, if you compare two of them, then that's a resource that a lot of y'all don't know about. Is folks like Oscar that can, you can call them up, message them, and
help me purchase the right tool.
Yeah, absolutely.
What will this one do that one won't do?
Yeah, right. And we actually test them here. Since we have a shop, we test them here at the shop, student cars, and we'll push them to the limit. So if you guys follow me on Facebook or Instagram, make sure you guys reach out to me if you have any questions. Sometimes it takes me about a day to get to everybody, but I'll get to you guys. So this way I know I can help you guys out, or you guys can always call the office. If I'm not here, one of the girls they're actually pretty knowledgeable on a lot of the equipment. So they might be able to answer any questions for you guys as well.
We
appreciate that so much, Oscar. Thank you for taking time and then hang around at the end.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me.
Oscar did type in his master automotive training
in the
chat.com there in the chat. So you have that. And of course, when y'all got on, it was letting you know that we are recording this. And the difference is we are going to put this,
where you can go back and watch it.
Yeah, make it available. And you can say, oh, I didn't catch that. Or because there's a lot of guys that can't always catch us on the Wednesdays. Something came up with the kids, you get practices or whatever, and so we're trying to make these available so you can go back and check it. And since this is tools, technology, and training, we've got two great guys on here from tools. We got Jonathon Cole and we got Curt Evey. And Curt's the boss. And of course, we want to give them a shout out again. We don't have anything recorded yet, Curt, on Milton sponsoring, but Milton everybody knows Milton connections and Milton air hoses and air reels and all that stuff, and some of the blowguns that you're familiar with in the past. And they're actually expanding and buying different companies, and they've come out with a Z-Line by Milton, which if y'all saw some of my videos, you saw the new oil drain tank that they sent us that is actually evacuation tank and drain. And that thing is just amazing. And so many times with the new technology, the vehicles don't have a dipstick for the oil, or if the European guys are used to the Porsches and stuff, you're trying to drain out the oil and it's like, you got to suck it out. Well, when you have the different tubes and you suck it out, the evacuation actually has a tank on there and it measures how much came out because you've got to put in the same amount. And then a lot of times, we're grabbing for the different vacuum tools that we have around the shop, to empty out the power steering fluid or the transmission fluid. So when we let the pan down, it doesn't drain off, it doesn't drip all over us. Your differential, your rear end, there's all different things that a lot of times if we can suck the fluid out of there before we take it apart, it's less messy on us. And so we appreciate both these guys. So Curt, I don't know if you want to talk first, and then Jonathon, and talk about the two programs. Y'all are number one, expanding, and you've also purchased LTI, which has
the shocker technology, cool
stuff for diesel, stuff for with crow's feet and different sensors where they get stuck, and now you have the shocker technology. And then we talked the other day that it's official that y'all bought ProMax, which is the neatest deal if you're having to drill out exhaust bolt manifold bolts. And then the biggest thing that we're so pleased with and so proud of is this week is starting January 8th. They're giving back with tools for schools and having a contest from January 8th through the end of the week. You can get a local school nominated, and then the next week they go back in and you vote for your favorite school. So we're hoping that by them needing votes, the class will vote, the school will vote, but that'll expand into the community voting for their local school. And the idea is then the local shops will get involved a little bit more with the local schools on helping them when they say, oh my gosh, hey, we didn't even know y'all did all this. And we're getting some of this new technology, some of the drain tanks. It's great price packages that Milton is
they're awesome
donating. and it's not just one, they're actually donating 5 different packages. And so then that'll be going the second week in January, and then we'll announce the winners on January 23rd. So Curt, you want to tell us a little bit about all of that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us on today. We really appreciate it. A little bit Milton and that, we invented the quick coupler over 80 years ago, and we have been in acquisition mode. Unfortunately, on the pneumatic side, we know air is going out of the shop, so we needed to find ways to vertically integrate. And we've made 7 acquisitions in the last 30 months. We actually just closed on ProMax in December, and we have another one coming February 1st. So my boss has been keeping me busy, which in turns, I'm keeping all my people busy. So we appreciate everybody's support in that. Where we're really focusing on outside the pneumatics area that we're so strong is the specialty hand tool line, and really looking at where solutions are to help the technicians in the shops. I'd done business with Ellery from Lock Technologies for over 20 years. I started way back as a technical trainer for Bridgestone and taught advanced tire analysis and that a long time ago. And, I got to learn in the shops, suspensions, where you're not strong in suspension. Some of us are a little stronger, Oscar. So if you ever need a question, call me. I can help. But, we spent that time, being mentored and brought up. And when, Jeff and I were talking and John at SEMA, we brought up about the schools and what, they really needed and where they're missing. A lot of these schools aren't funded the programs like when, us three were back in school. I'm a little older than I look. So, in the late 70s and early 80s, we had a lot more in our auto shops than they do nowadays, as far as programs. So, we just want to give back to the community that helped us move along. So Jonathon, my senior product manager, he's now been with me at 2 companies. He sat down with Jeff and John, and they really worked together on building a good program for these schools. So with that, I'll let Jonathon take it over.
I'll take over the keys. And then Jeff, is your share screen button working too? I can actually show them some of the prize packages that we're going to be giving out.
Yeah, you should be able to flip on there. We turned that on.
Perfect. And then
If it-
I'm Jonathon Cole. I'm the senior product manager for the Z-Line by Milton brand from Milton Industries. So a little bit different outside of air, as Curt had mentioned, we've been in acquisition mode. So Z-Line, formerly known as National Spencer, so we're using the Z-Line by Milton name branding. And we're sponsoring the show in coordination with Jeff and his group. The tools for schools. As you mentioned, the nomination process, we're going to open that up starting up on Sunday, I believe, on January 8th through the 14th. Where your school, VOTEC, through colleges or high schools can be nominated. Following week, we're going to open it up to voting. So that's where it's going to really count. But of course, you got to get in the race to be in there to win, right?
Will you scroll that up, Jonathon?
What was that?
Scroll that up.
Scroll that up.
Yeah, other way up.
Show the price.
So you can see the nomination form. Down,
there we go. It's right there.
There we are.
And it's just a basic, simple. All you do is put your name and nominate your school. So all you shop owners, all you techs, if you have a school around you, then that's the form. The nomination isn't there today. It'll be active Sunday, and you just put your school's name. And like he said, you just have to get them in the race in order to have a chance to win. It's not like, okay, the top 10. It's like anybody, but we want you to get nominated.
Correct. And I said, that'll be from the 8th to the 14th. And starting, I believe, let me go right back up, check my dates here. Yes, correct. The 15th through the 21st will be the voting window. When the voting closes up, as Jeff had mentioned, that we'll coordinate together and do a live announcement for who the winners will be. Of course, remember, they've got to be in the U.S. They also can go Alaska and Hawaii, Puerto Rico, or Alaska, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, not eligible. Like I said, just simply fill out the form, put your information in there, and you'll be entered into the prize packages. So now let's show you what you actually can win. We have several prize packages. As Jeff mentioned, we have 5.
Scroll up just a little bit more there.
just a little bit more.
Or scroll down a little bit more. One or the other.
There we go.
Right there.
My mouse is not cooperating tonight.
That's all of that is the grand prize.
Correct. Grand prize package is going to be the biggest one. That's the most exciting one, right? So as you've done a phenomenal job of showing off our combination oil drain fluid evacuator with the transparent bowl. So Jeff can tell you all about how to operate that, and so can John, since they both now have one in their shop. So we've got those available in the prize pack. As you mentioned, it has the transparent measuring chamber. So when the younger technicians in training are going to start working with vehicles that are more specialized, where the procedures want them to refill with what they replace, this is the perfect tool for the shop. This gives them the edge that they need for a lot of the newer service procedures that are out there. We're also going to throw in a Milton branded insulated tool set. Very important. I think it was Oscar talked about hybrid training. So this would be great for hybrid and electric vehicles. They're 1,000-volt insulated. You get the stripper or the pliers, wire cutter, screwdrivers, a little tester included in there as well, in a nice little folio case. You also do get an S-Fit 568 tire inflator and pressure gauge from the Milton Industries brand. And then some other popular Z-Line by Milton products like a lever action drum pump for oil and transmission fluids or hydraulic fluids. One of our 5-quart measuring jugs, and our new and very popular 36-ounce pressurized brake sprayer cleaner.
Now,
so that'll
guys,
be the top grand prize package.
that pressurized brake cleaner is actually a pressurized sprayer. So you can, we got one here in the shop,
Just
and
pump it up.
you just pump it up, but you can put your water in there for, like, we do headlights, polishing headlights, and we have to sand them, wet sand them. And then you can put some cleaner in there. So you use your simple green or whichever cleaner you use around the shop. If you have a degreaser to degrease the engines, plus it's actually rated for brake cleaner. And as John tell you, brake cleaner is actually harsh.
Yeah.
And so that's, and that's like I think if you scroll up, it's like $15 retail or something right there, Jonathan.
Yeah, 24
$24
ish, depending on the retailer.
It's like, oh my gosh, everybody can use one of those in their shops. And then
Absolutely.
going up, doesn't it show the second, third, fourth, and fifth place?
That it does. So
Yeah.
we have our second place prize where you get one of our fluid evacuator oil drain combinations. That'll also include the insulated tool set as well. And then our third place package will be our fluid evacuator with the measuring chamber. And then the S568 tire pressure gauge with inflator. And then for fourth and fifth place, we have our standard fluid evacuator and then our lever action drum pump from Z-Line by Milton. And for the fifth place prize, they'll get a standard 21-gallon oil drain that does the air pressure evacuation. And then also that 36-ounce brake sprayer cleaner that we touched up on.
Hey, guys, these are not, guys and girls, these are not prizes to sneeze at. I
No.
was so impressed with their dedication and their Curt just the way that he hopped right in and committed to this much of a prize package. It's, to me, this is just amazing. So if you haven't seen some of these, if your oil drain is looking for replacement or whatever, like John said, we went by his shop and I looked in there and it was like sad. I was like, John, you need some of these. So these are great products, and plus getting them into the schools.
Absolutely. We're definitely proud to support this program, or we're glad to partner up with the J&J show on this. It's an exciting opportunity for any school out there that needs some equipment. As Curt mentioned, it's a different type of standard as it was back in his generation. With my generation being a part of the younger crowd like Oscar, we're not always given these tools and the proper funding that we need. So let's do everything we can to help these programs, and let's create some buzz and have some excitement with this.
Amen.
Jonathan and Curt, we appreciate you so much, and hang around the end in case you have anything else to share. And Jonathan is actually going to be gone at the end of the month, next month, traveling to the different suppliers, the manufacturers. And it's like, we had a couple comments on the evacuation tubes. A lot of you guys know there's some of them that need a real long one, and Milton was so easy to and receptive to taking comments on, oh my gosh, we need a little bit longer one. And they immediately called the manufacturer, and the manufacturer's like, yeah, let's check that. I think we can do this.
Say, I got a question real quick. Jonathan, inside each one of those evacuators tanks, there's a brass tube. Give me a hint on what I'm going to use the brass tube for.
Brass tubes, I know primarily you're probably going to use the poly ones more, based on different dipstick tubes that are out there from different manufacturers, because they're all contoured different shapes. Primarily the brass tube one, you're going to see that just in a very few, but more targeted towards more industrial equipment's what they were built for. Because these don't only work in automotive or in diesels, you can also use them on generators or ATVs, snowmobiles, jet skis. So they have an open market outside of just a traditional car. But primarily, like I said, most users are going to use the flexible poly ones based on the type of vehicles that are out there and the different dipstick tube contours.
Yep.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem at all.
And thank you so much. He was actually due to get a shot for his traveling around. He's got to take some shots, and he actually held off on taking one of them this evening so he could be with us. Thank you so much for that, Jonathan.
I appreciate it.
And we have another one on here that's silently sitting there, and we're talking about tools, technology, and training. And I want to introduce y'all to Joel Dufkis. Joel is such a great guy. He's now with ICAR. He was an instructor, automotive technology instructor at one of the schools. And we've met him and I've been friends with him for several years. And the opportunity came up to go to ICAR because he was doing a lot of stuff with EVs, with the Teslas. And he's actually now the instructor at the new training facility in would you call that just north of Chicago?
Yeah, it's about a half an hour outside of Chicago.
And
But we still call it
ADOS.
Chicago.
He's teaching ADOS and EV. But one of the big deals when we talk about the technology that's out there now is the mechanical side hasn't always known about ICAR, which has always been on the collision side of the automotive industry. And right now we're kind of working to get the two of them together to show that the collision shops get the vehicles in the new technology before we do, because they'll have a crash before they get out of warranty, where we start getting them, and we might start seeing them for oil changes. And so that's one of the deals that Joe can share about how that training is actually available to anyone. And when we're talking about these 1,000-volt tools, then it's like, okay, yeah, you can get the tools and you can go online and do AMI training and learn about EV. And then you'll say, oh my gosh, I need hands-on training. That's where Joel comes in and connecting with ICAR. And it doesn't matter if you're an ICAR shop. It doesn't matter if you're in the mechanical or the collision side. The facility and the training is open to any of us.
Yeah, that's correct. So ICAR's been known for the collision side of stuff. We started out in 1979 when unibodies first started coming about, and guys didn't know how to fix unibodies correctly. So the collision industry came together as a whole and said, hey, how do we solve this kind of stuff? So what they did is they came together and created ICAR, which is funded by the industry for the industry. And they started teaching welding training to teach people how to fix unibodies correctly. And it's kind of snowballed from there to the point now where the vast majority of ICAR's training still is the traditional going into the shop and teaching guys how to weld and stuff like that. But recently we opened up our Chicago Technical Center here in Vernon Hills, Illinois, which is, like I said, about a half hour outside of Chicago. And our job there is to teach what we call the technical tsunami that's coming. So as Jeff alluded to, in the collision side of the industry, we see stuff way quicker than the mechanical side. And I've been on the mechanical side of the industry my entire life. I'm new to the collision side. But it's really kind of eye-opening to see what happens there, because you can buy a brand new car and 3 days later get hit, and that car is immediately in a collision shop. So those guys are seeing the new technology right away. One of the main things I teach about is EVs. You might have a brand new EV, a Hyundai Ioniq 5 that's been out for a couple months. That car could get hit a couple days after it's off the lot. It's in a repair shop bay. They didn't know how to work on those things. So it's a whole kind of other side of stuff. It's really cool. And with the advent of EVs and ADAS, I see kind of like the two sides merging together, where collision and mechanical are kind of coming together, because we need the training on this stuff. Because if it's not done correctly, there's going to be a lot of issues. On the ADAS side, that's coming. You guys are starting to see that stuff more and more now, and more cars are coming out with it. I know coming up in the next couple of years, the federal government's going to start mandating forward collision warning on all cars. So that's a whole other thing that we have to be careful of. And I know Jeff before, and some other stuff we've talked about how, typically in the mechanical shop, we don't see too much of that stuff. But, if you're pulling off front bumpers to do a condenser or radiator or something like that, your tech accidentally hits, brackets for the front radar sensor or something like that, can throw it off whack or things like that. Some of that stuff's very, fragile. I know Jeff had one where a customer came to the shop and they went over a parking
They bumped it like on the curb stoppers or on
so like the parking stopper, and they pulled back and it pulled half the front bumper off, and came to the shop, and it had a front radar module behind it and stuff. So stuff that we're going to be seeing on the mechanical side. And then the EVs is the big thing. I mean, that's, as we all know, that's the new hot button with everything. You know, every manufacturer's come out their own EVs. You know, Teslas have been around since 2012 with the Model S. And a lot of those cars are coming out of warranty now. The Model S's have been out of warranty. The Model 3s, which were come out in 2018, those are just starting to come out of warranty now. So those are things you might be seeing in your shops. And knowing how to, the one class we teach right now with our EVs is how to disable the vehicle and shut it down, do testing on the vehicle. So do your zero potential testing, make sure it's safe to work on. We'll go through the bonding test, which is making sure that there's a path of least resistance. It's not between you and between your body and the vehicle, so you're not going to get hurt. We also go through isolation testing, how to find faults in the vehicle and stuff like that. So it's a pretty intense. It's a 5-day class, in-person class. It's very intense. The whole first day is electrical engineering. So we're going through all the Ohm's law stuff that, you know, some people love, some people hate. I love it myself. I'm a big electrical guy. And so we cover all that stuff and we get into the hands-on, and it's a lot of hands-on time. And going through, we have these training carts that Jeff and John have seen those before. They simulate basically an electrical vehicle where we can do a lot of training on that in a comfortable environment where people aren't going to get hurt. You know, it has a low voltage battery inside there, so it'll show issues, but it's not going to be anything dangerous. Once I feel that you're comfortable with that stuff, then I'll throw you on an actual car and have you go through the whole procedure on that side.
Joe, congratulations on your certification. That was awesome. But is this training, if like Wendy and Pat on the other side of the screen there, if they wanted to come to this training, do they just pick up the phone, call, and get signed up and come in? Or do they need to be an ICAR member?
No, you can go to ICAR's website and you can sign up for the classes. There's some prerequisite online classes they want you to take first to kind of get you ready to go. So when you hop in the class, you're not like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? Depending on your level of familiarity with electrical, some of them are, you know, kind of review classes. Some of them, if you haven't done it in a while, they're going to kind of teach you some things you may have forgotten about. Or if you're new to it, you're going to learn some stuff from there. And then after you've done the prereqs, and you can schedule time to come in for the class. I know this quarter I have almost one every week now. I think there's a couple weeks where I don't have classes, but I mean, pretty much the first quarter I'm teaching all EV classes.
And the big deal, and your boss Dirk emphasized the one of the times when I met him, and he was talking about the electronic transmissions, and a lot of the stuff has been over in Europe before we're seeing it over here. But the big deal that he shared was, you do not get one chance. When you're dealing with the EV, it's like, okay, you get one chance. We're mentoring you. You know, you can mess up one time. You do not get one chance.
Yeah, there's not
zero chances.
There's not a lot of room for error in that stuff. Now, that's not to say I'm not going to do the doom and gloom. You know, we're all going to die immediately, but there are safety systems in place that'll save you. But you know, if you're not doing stuff the right way, you the potential for getting hurt is there. And you know, like you alluded to, we don't have this kind of stuff in the United States. You know, over in Europe, they have the ECE R100, which is their regulations for shops. So in order for you to work on electric vehicles over there, you have to go through this ECE R100 training. There's multiple levels of it. That's the highest level is culminating in a 2-week long hands-on class. And if you don't have those certifications, you can't work on those cars over there. Over here in the United States, we don't have that stuff because we're kind of like, oh, hey, you know, don't tread on me and stuff like that, which I understand. But at the same time, when you're dealing with some of these systems that can really potentially hurt somebody, you know, you have to be careful with that stuff. And there's a reason you don't hear, like, you know, linemen work on high voltages every day. You know, you don't hear about a ton of those guys getting hurt because they follow safety precautions and they have the training. We need to get the training out to the industry.
And that's the deal. It's not to scare you. It's to tell you that, number one, you need to learn. So like the prerequisites or the training through AMI. AMI actually offers a master's in EV. But if you have any kind of sense, once you take the prerequisites or once you take the classes through AMI, you'll go, okay, now I need hands-on. So where do you get the hands-on? You go there. And like he said, they start with carts that won't hurt you at all. But when you're comfortable, it's like there's nothing to be scared about, but you have to be smart. You have to have the knowledge to know, okay, once I disconnect the orange switch and we take the power loose, it doesn't mean immediately that all of a sudden the generator or the inverter the power is gone. It takes a little bit to bleed that power off, and it depends on which type it is. And those are the basic things that once you learn that, it's like hybrids have been around for a while, and we've been changing oil and doing tires, and now it's like, okay, well, what else, besides knowing how to disconnect it and stuff. And I've seen Joel at his at the new facility there actually lower off the battery compartment or container or unit.
Yeah, battery pack.
Yeah, off of one. And it's like, okay, so that means there's certain spots where we need to lift these at a shop. So if we don't have a drive-on lift, then that's something that you need to learn and understand. It doesn't mean that your shop can't work on them. And then from there, it's like, okay, if one was an accident, if one was in a flood incident, like down in Florida, and I think Dirk shared that they had how many thousands of those?
I forget the exact number. There's a lot of cars that were involved, depending on the severity of how flooded they got. All batteries have ventilation on them, even though they're sealed, they're allowed to breathe. And when they're covered, over the roof, that water's gonna seep into the battery. And in that case, it's salt water getting inside a battery. We all know salt water and electricity don't go too well together. So, there were some, we like to call them thermal events. It sounds better. Some thermal events with some of those cars, and it's just
that means we had a barbecue.
Yeah, exactly. big old barbecue. So that's one of there are some dangers to these vehicles, just like any other vehicle. But if you're prepared and you're trained up correctly and you use precautions, everyone will be safe. And I'm speaking on the mechanical side. I mean, I know a lot of guys are kind of scared of these cars coming and they're just work for me to do and stuff like that. There's still gonna be plenty of work on those cars. It's gonna be different work, but there'll still be plenty of work to go around on those things.
Yeah, I'm preaching that same thing. There's gonna be a lot of maintenance on them EV cars. We're gonna make some good money on those cars.
Like the brake systems, even though the brakes aren't used except like probably below 5 miles an hour, then the braking system is still there. It's just not being used because the system regenerates itself. So it uses the electric motor and stuff to slow it down. Is all of a sudden those need to be serviced, yearly or whatever. And
brake fluid
up north, it's going to be a little bit, more maintenance than in the south. And so because of the salt and the roads and all of that. So
yeah,
there's a lot of stuff.
Tires, suspension, the heavier the car, more that's going to wear that kind of stuff. I've been seeing now in some of the early Model 3s, some PTC heater failures. That's the electric grid heater inside the vehicle. There's still parts in there that are going to fail. They're electrically there. It's just we have to learn a new way of kind of working on this stuff. And some of it's a little more involved than it used to be. It requires more scan tool access and OEM service information than some of the stuff we're used to. But even then, I had there's one of my groups. There's a Mustang Mach-E that came in, and Ford forgot to tighten the bus bar onto the fast charge contact, and so it's kind of just basically barely touching. And when they went to fast charge, it's arcing. That's stuff that we can see on our side. Where we got to pull this stuff apart. And some of these manufacturers, the batteries are serviceable, so we can pull them down, pull them apart, and actually change out contactors, bus bars, modules, and all that kind of stuff. But if we don't know how to fix it the correct way, that's where troubles arise.
Cool. That's good stuff.
So that's another resource, iCar, that so many mechanical shops don't even think about. And then, like I said, this one is up by Chicago, and they're kind of looking on expanding and getting those all around, depending on as the training gets full, and looking to reach different areas.
Yeah, eventually, as this was our first center that we built specifically for this. It has a giant ADAS lab, or a giant EV lab, and we have a flex space as well, and a lot of other stuff. We're looking into, hopefully in the future be able to expand this around, because we can't teach all the technicians we need to just out of one facility in one
No.
part of the country here. So
Yeah, it's a big place, but it ain't big enough.
it's getting
Well,
smaller.
and you're
getting
limited
smaller every
on
day.
Yeah.
you're limited on how many you can put in the class size, for
Yeah, we try to
reasons
keep the
of-
class sizes small enough. So on a typical EV class, our max size is 12 people in that class. Our ADOS classes are capped at 8 people per class. So we have two ADOS classes. We have a static calibration class. That's the one where you put the targets up and train the vehicles to those. That's a 3-day class. And then we have a 2-day Ford specific class that basically is like what happens when calibrations fail. So Fords are dynamic, where you put the scan tool in learn mode, you drive around, and it kind of learns the sensors themselves. But this class is focused on what happens when they fail.
So the other thing that you can touch on is, because you were out at SEMA this year, and it was a new experience, because instead of going out there as a automotive tech trainer, automotive instructor, trying to see some of the new stuff, you were actually doing the demonstrations, you were actually teaching, you were actually showing the different deals, and
Really show and tell.
ICAR was quite involved. So just give the folks just a quick overview of how important it is to attend an event like SEMA, because we did a video in the ADOS area, and it was taped off with how much room, and what did we decide? It was like five or 6 bays.
6 or 7 days. That thing was so big. The amount of room it needed for that little bitty Ford pickup truck is in the middle.
No, definitely. I'm always been an advocate of training. The more training you get, the better off you're going to be. SEMA is a great time to get out there. There's a whole bunch of people from all different walks of the industry there. There's classes there available. There's stuff on the trade show floor for you to take. Even just getting out there and talking to some of these manufacturers and seeing what kind of new equipment and tools and stuff, kind of like what we're doing here, is great to do. I always encourage people to go out there. If you've never been, it's a great experience. It's really cool. You can spend way too much time looking at stuff, but there's other things to do there too. So the trainings definitely help. And always never stop training. Always be looking ahead for the new stuff and how to get ahead and keep yourself sharp, because that's where we're going to move ahead in this industry.
Thank you so much, Joel. We appreciate you being on here. Appreciate you sharing. We appreciate what you do out there teaching these, and it's like seasoned techs and stuff that you're teaching. And so I've seen, they gave us a tour of the facility at one time, and they just do a lot.
That was cool. That facility we went to see, that's huge, and all the big stuff that's in there.
So we appreciate that.
Thank you.
So we're kind of getting towards the end of time. If we have any questions or anything that anyone would like to share, or any of the guests would like to share about the different products, or any other questions, we're going to continue our series on tools, technology, and training. That's what this is all about. And we're constantly going to be letting you know about some of the online and some of the free training, and we'll talk more about it in that next time. Gates has training, Wix Filters has training. We talked about the NGK training. And so there's so much of online training, and I could go get a book over here that I have loaded with certificates of online training.
That like Scott said earlier, what we want to also bring is live training, because we feel like the online training hasn't reached the end, but we're hearing people say we want to be back out in the field. We want to go back out there where our customer is. We want to be involved. Like Philip said, we want to get there. We want to be there. And that's what we want to do. We want to bring to the table to you guys and girls who's got the latest, greatest, what's going on in our industry. Any kind of question
or comments.
And I want to hear yours, Scott. I done got that text. All right.
Nobody?
I had I had one.
Yeah,
Do you
Luke.
allow your techs to? Some of this stuff is online training, so would you recommend your techs doing that during work hours or after work hours, or?
That's a great question, and it's a lot of part of improving our industry is if we let them do lunch and learns, and we're going to try to do the webinars at lunchtime so they can be lunch and learns where you can buy them pizza, you can buy them barbecue, and let them sit down and watch some training. If they do this during time, it's easier for them to go, oh, okay, I can do that, and you're paying them versus you say, hey, if you purchase a deal like through the AMI training, and I don't know if my battery's fixing to run out on my camera. If you do it like through AMI training, that's more of a long-term process. You're buying a
That's
yearly,
online. Yeah.
you're buying a yearly subscription. So, then it's like, okay, if you complete this, I'll give you, an extra whatever.
And it also depends on the kind of training. So if you're going to go to what Joel does, his training is all during the daytime. And Phillips is going to bring his training to you at nighttime.
But the online stuff is like, yeah,
But
that's what I would do is, hey, give them, 30 minutes in before they start, 30 minutes in the evening.
And Oscar, when do you do your training? You do it during the day and at night too, both, don't you?
Yeah, we do both as well.
So your question being said, you have the opportunity to go both ways, before, after, and during work hours to get her done.
But that's, like I said, too, that's also part of improving our industry. If guys, you're asking them after work to go to a training that Philip's doing, and it's like they're tired, they're hungry, they want to go home, and it's like you're asking them to do some extra. If you're not paying them for that, if you're not compensating them in some way, then are we improving? Then they get there and they have an attitude or whatever. Are we helping our industry? If you're like, okay, hey, we pay for your training, we pay for your time, it's the same way when they come in, the customer comes in the shop, we charge them for what we're doing to the vehicle. And it's like, you don't want your tech checking stuff and doing stuff and not being compensated, because they're there to make money. And so that's all part of cost of doing business. And so if we can't afford to do that, then, okay, maybe we need to raise our rates a little. We need to look at what we're charging so that we can take care of these guys, so we don't have an issue of not having enough techs, of losing techs. That's my opinion, Luke.
Mentorship programs.
Yes, sir.
And
thank you, guys, man. This is great.
Well, thank you. We
Thank
hope
you, brother.
continue logging on, and we're going to continue to grow. We didn't put out as much this time as to who we were going to have on here, because we were all trying to get the Zoom and get the DBA and get all of this situated, so that we could still do it on the first Wednesday of every month. And so, like I say, I try to explain to people, you never know who's going to be on here, and you never know what we're going to share.
Hey, Chad's got a real good answer there, Luke, in the chat. Take a look at that right fast, okay? So my buddy's reading it right now.
Trying to.
That's a really good answer. I really do like that, Chad. It's a good way to say things. I like that.
And once again, we'll give a shout out to Milton for helping us sponsor, being able to continue doing this. And because there is a lot of cost
involved in this.
Involved behind
and
the
this
scenes.
Is our first one, by the way, that we've done solo by ourselves, and it panned out real sweet. I really like it.
So thank y'all for being on. Thank y'all and like I say, any last comments there from anybody? Sign off. And like I said, we've got this recorded, so we'll release it again in the future, so that ones that didn't get to see it saw it. And hopefully everyone sees the value.
Bye, everybody. Have a blessed week.